That's always funny. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever part of the world you are in. Welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict Live. So, Friday, Ross, we are so excited to be here. So, we have a lot to talk about today.
Well, one of the things we just were discussing is the geopolitical scene on planet Earth is changing at the speed of light.
Why do you think we named the show Geopolitics in Conflict? Because of the changes that's going on. So,
well, as we go through the headlines today, it's more than shocking.
Indeed.
But let's dive into what do you think of thanking our viewers?
Of course.
Thank you for viewing. Thank you for subscribing. And
indeed, and also for our just for you guys to know about, we do have now locals webpage and presence in the community there. Check us out at geopolitics.locals.com. So that's now the community there is growing. We posted some videos there, so check it out, guys. So also check out our membership at geopoliticsinconflict.com. Speaking of members, we're going to be doing a presentation for them, I think, next week, which will be the
real hot topic.
Year. Yeah, a hot topic about U.S.-China race over AI, artificial intelligence. That will be an interesting one. So, all right, let's dive.
Headlines.
Yeah, let's go into headlines.
As if we needed a shock today. Saudi Arabia is now manufacturing ballistic missiles with China's help.
I know, whoever thought. Well, to me personally, Ross, I disclosed some information in my book. Usually my book that I wrote about Saudi Arabia had to be cleared by the United States government. So I disclosed some information there, and the US government was okay with it, I guess so. But what I disclosed back then, that the Saudis didn't disclose to the American that they have a base, ballistic missiles base. It was hidden. So, but anyway, that's very interesting. Well, why is that interesting? It's because there are two senators in U.S. Congress. They're blocking the sale of $625 million weapons to Saudi Arabia. But also because U.S. went ahead and withdrew the Patriot missile system from Saudi Arabia. So could it be that the Saudis just stabbing the U.S. back in the back by going with China? Possibly. I do have one other explanation to that. Right?
Let's hear it.
It's because the shifting of where the world is headed, Saudi Arabia does not want to be left behind. So that's why they are doing what they're doing with China. And there's the image for it. We came across that info last night. This is the image, guys, of the satellite picture. I sort of reached out to some people that I know and to check, and this is as accurate. And some of this location is in Al Sulais. It's about 430 kilometers southwest of Riyadh, the capital. So anyway, next one.
Oh, this is not a surprise. Russia, China jointly develop high-tech weapons.
Oh, yes. Can you imagine what's going to do to the balance of power?
It's going to unbalance everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, can you imagine? Russia's advance, they do have, we all know Russia's military capabilities. We all know about China's military capabilities. Can you imagine the two combining? And as a matter of fact, if you allow me to quote what Putin has said and about this cooperation between Russia and China, he said, and I quote, "It's an absolutely comprehensive partnership of strategic nature," end of quote. I mean,
that is so loaded with weapons being developed jointly.
Exactly right.
Partnership of strategic nature.
Yeah. Anytime you see the word strategic nature, you can just see long-term here. So that's what it is, guys.
Ukraine hopes truce will bring down war tensions. Well, there's something to say about this. Does the Ukrainian government have any say in this at all?
No, they don't. They don't, because first of all, it's common sense. Ukraine fighting Russia, come on. Georgia wanted to do the same back then, thinking that NATO is going to come to its defense. Well, guess what? The first time the first shot was fired, NATO said, "What are you, crazy? Us fighting nuclear Russia?" So this is why Ukraine hoping now for ceasefire, for a truce. But here is the thing that is not disclosed openly. The United States is providing the Javelin missile system to Ukraine. This is like you are telling the Russians to de-escalate, but you're going around and providing the Java missile system to Ukraine. Double standard.
Well, in psychology, we call it something else. Schizophrenia. Two directions at the same time that are opposite from each other. This makes no logical sense whatsoever.
Oh my God. So even
whoever's doing
even in foreign policy, they have that.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
That's interesting.
U.S. arms exports 2021 fell by 21%. Is that good news for the world?
I would say it is. It was a drop by $138 billion.
Wow.
So, it depends how you want to look at it. It's good news. This is my opinion. But because an indication that, well, maybe countries start to realize, how much weapon can we buy? How about if we reinvest that money in infrastructure, in the economy, in whatever you want to call it? So this is, for example, when I see ASEAN countries.
Oh yeah.
That's why, and we're gonna talk in detail about this one as we move forward. So it was an interesting stats that came out of State Department.
This is the Pentagon just released that they've got underwater drones. Manta Ray secret project enters phase 2.
Indeed, that was from DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's one of the books agency inside the Pentagon. It has a block projects. When I say block budget, rather,
yeah,
those are blacklisted. So, but anyway, it was, and I forgot. I have a link to one of the images of it. It's like a stealth plane,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
But it's underwater. It's underwater. So it's, I believe, Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, or Northrop Grumman, one of the defense contractors, is the one taking the bid on this. So they're going to be developing this.
Gabriel Boric is a leftist in Chile, and he was elected to be the youngest president of Chile's ever had.
35 years old. So
it's interesting seeing this young generation starting to make a mark in the world.
Exactly. So that will be very interesting. His opponent, Kast, I believe his name, Kast, K-A-S-T, if I'm not mistaken, which he was a supporter of the dictatorship back during the era of Augusto Pinochet.
Yeah.
Of course, when this guy, Gabriel Boric, got about 56% of the vote. The question now is what he's going to do moving forward, given that, is he going to open up to investments from foreign countries, mainly China, because there's a conversation about the Panama Canal.
Oh, yeah.
China investment there. So he's going to be thinking, because Chile has always been some sort of stable. Their economy is not, at the top, but it's stable. So it will be interesting to see which direction he's going to go, unless the U.S. will impact him indirectly. So that remains to be seen.
There's a big question here, but because he's been labeled a leftist. What does it even mean?
Yeah, I don't know why they're even using that. And the term is only used here.
Yeah.
In the Western media. So,
well, we've now shocked and awed everybody. What do you think we move on to our topic for today?
Let's do it. Just for you guys to know, like we always do when we open up the floor for questions, just put questions so we know it is a question and we'll go through it. So, all right. Yeah.
Well, we looked at a whole array of topics for today. And we said, well, Five Eyes, who else is in Five Eyes that we've not discussed? And it is?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Indeed, Ross.
And what we know is that New Zealand has followed a very different path from Australia.
That's correct.
So far,
except that path is contradictory. In other words, their own foreign policy towards mainly China for the last year, the entire 2021, hasn't been clear. It's contradictory. One time they'll say this, the next day they'll say that.
Yeah.
So, and that is where you're seeing, okay, where do they stand? As kind of, I did find some info that we're going to share with our viewers regarding this one here. You take the example of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay, in China. So some members of the government said no, China, or New Zealand is not going to boycott the Chinese Olympics, except that the diplomats or the officials of the government might not be going. But that does not mean they are boycotting. So officially, they're saying we're not boycotting. Then you got other members of the government saying in the parliament, well, we're going to boycott China's Olympics. The same path UK did, Canada did, Australia did, and the US. So, and that right there, Ross, it tells you what? The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
A confused foreign policy again.
Exactly. And that's what it was throughout 2021.
Well, we know that Jacinda Ardern, who's the leader of New Zealand, has been under enormous pressure from their friends in Australia.
Yeah. Well, we all know the truth about Australia,
right?
Which, what when we had the interview with Robbie, the information that was disclosed, Australians have no clue.
It's shocking. Once we got the real information, what was going on in Australia, Australia's been failing for 28 years, and we didn't know it because their economy looked like it was doing well as manufacturing left.
Yeah. And yet the idea of New Zealand now, for me first, and I've been watching this from a distance, we didn't want to report on it yet because I wasn't sure which direction they're going to go.
Yeah.
And every time I check the info, I'm still seeing the same trend, the same pattern. No clear vision, no clear strategy, no clarification as to where the government stands. That's why we didn't want to report on it, because we weren't sure as to which direction is going to. Now it became clear to us they're not taking any stand. Well, wait a minute. You can't have your cake and eat it because that's what it looks to me.
Yeah.
So and it becomes very disturbing to see what's coming out of inside the government in New Zealand. There is like a hidden fight. As a matter of fact, I did find one particular information, the assessment that came out of New Zealand government, which not everybody in the government subscribed to.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you know what they're saying? They're saying that, and I quote here, because it will be the word of the assessment, call out China, quote, seeking to reshape the international system.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. And that becomes one of those vague, just throw it out there. Because remember, as we always say, guys, in international relations, context matters. And this is where I start to see the flaws of New Zealand's foreign policy that is not clear.
What was that exact phrase that it was?
It was seeking to reshape the international system.
I'm terrified. How about you? Because that's what that inspires. We need to be afraid because things are going to change, and it's going to be for the worse. And that's linguistically loaded, and that's what it says.
You can see the psychological impact. This is why the government was coming out of it. And yet, some other members, like, for example, the Deputy Prime Minister, Grant Robertson, he played down the idea of New Zealand joining a diplomatic boycott of Olympics and provided just enough room to suggest that there was a daylight between Wellington and Western partners after all.
Oh, how interesting.
See how they're playing it safe? It's just the idea claiming that it was the pandemic that's prevented it. But that's all. This is not what's important here. As we said, some members of the government saying one thing, another member saying another. So we're going to provide our viewers with the other side of the argument. And the other side of the government came from none other than the trade minister. Trade Minister Damien O'Connor, explicitly, and I quote here, explicitly endorsed boycotting China's Olympics. So here is the Deputy Foreign Minister saying one thing, okay? Just to make sure, a Deputy Prime Minister saying one thing, and here is the Trade Minister saying another thing.
Well, the Trade Minister is probably looking at $33 billion of trade that goes on with China.
Exactly, but here is the thing, Ross. New Zealand annual income, $20 billion worth of export to China have thus far remained untouched by the kind of retaliatory tariffs from China in comparison to what China did to Australia. And look where Australia's economy is.
Yeah.
So, and that is the reason why we wanted to highlight this within the context of what's taking place in that part of the world. We all remember, and we did a live on it last Friday,
Yeah.
Tony Blinken's trip to Southeast Asia. Why they kicked him out? Why it was a failed trip? It's because they are seeing those countries, Indonesia, because it was the first stop. But Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, he didn't. And he cut the trip short. Well, you cut it short because Tony Blinken, got the message that, listen, man, if you are coming here to talk trade and talk cooperation and support, we'll be happy. If you are here to push us into getting into the middle of the fight, we don't want that.
Go home.
And that's what they did. So to me, while New Zealand is on a crossroad, at a crossroad right now. Because here's the question for you guys. And this is a question for you that feel free to answer it in comments later on, whatever. So, and the question that I'm going to put for you is, what do you expect New Zealand foreign policy for 2022 is going to be? Remember, New Zealand is part of the Five Eyes. Okay? So far, they're staying, keeping one foot in and one foot out. But you can't lead like that because that's double standard.
Right.
That's like you and I, Ross, when we talk about something and I tell you, well, where do you stand on the issue? You tell me this is where I stand on it.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
And New Zealand wanted to have it both ways.
Well, my understanding is that the trade with China is bigger than trade with Australia and all the other Five Eye countries.
Exactly.
And so economically, where should they be if they're going to take care of their people?
It makes more sense.
Well, it's for them to decide. I realize that.
Yeah.
They're getting.
Go ahead, Ross.
What they're getting is unclear leadership.
And that's problematic.
Well, there's certain elements in New Zealand that are saying that China is full of espionage and trying to influence little New Zealand. And they're trying to take over and interfere with the political system. And as we looked at this, neither one of us could find any shred of evidence that say that that's true. Doesn't mean it's not true, but we couldn't find anything on it.
Find any. Yeah, but if it is the case, should we make the same argument for when Malaysia kicked the Secretary Blinken by saying, well, no. Maybe we will keep you, maybe not, but because China's going to be spying on us. When in reality, the reason why they kicked him out, because they want to maintain the trade relations between Malaysia and China, Indonesia and China, Thailand and China. They all remember when we did the video about Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, when he came to Washington, and the U.S. was pressing him.
And he said, no, thanks.
Why is that?
You and I have laughed about this over and over again. The people in Washington, have they noticed where Korea is?
You're right.
I mean, they're right on the border.
Exactly.
Say, no, we want an enemy next door to us who's the biggest economy in the world and military power, unbelievable.
And made it clear.
Yeah, they made it clear.
He said, I am thinking of the economic welfare of my nation. This is in case of the Moon Jae-in for South Korea. The same thing now, those countries like ASEAN.
Yeah.
That's why they're like, yes, they do have tensions with China, but those tensions, water, territorial, whatever, those are talked behind the scenes, this set down and figure out a way of how to work it out. No, New Zealand, as I said now, is at a crossroad. That's why I put the question for you guys about where do you see New Zealand foreign policy towards China going coming 2022? It's because if they couldn't make a decision by now, it might be an indication for what lies ahead, how they're going to proceed. Because they are seeing what's going on in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we all know as to how devastated the Australian economy. Yet, Morrison is lying about it. I'm not saying personally, and I speak for myself here, I'm an objective guy, I follow the facts where the facts may lead. When we interviewed Robbie, he is on the ground, and if it was something that is not correct, I would have called him on it.
Right.
But he provided the info that it was completely different from what Morrison government was disclosing to the Australians. Could New Zealand be facing the same fate, the same outcome?
Well, what we're seeing is internal conflict inside the government.
Yeah, like we said here.
And so Jacinda has a real job on her hands.
Yeah.
And we'll see if she's up for the job. She's only been in it for 2 years.
Yeah, but so far New Zealand is like one of the things that I found out about I read the assessment of the government that was released. One thing has to do with AUKUS. They are, they don't want to be part of AUKUS because New Zealand have already declared non-nuclear.
Long time ago. 1980, actually.
Yeah, you're right. So we all know where AUKUS is headed. And this is why when we did the interview with the Rabbi, a lot of Australians, and I read the comments from Australia, they said we couldn't believe what we're hearing. And I answered why. They said, well, because the government never said that. I say, really? Would you trust your government what they're saying? And because this issue of the nuclear, it has never been disclosed to the Australian people. New Zealand, as I said again, is at a crossroad, and I am sure inside the government conversations, the debating, should we disclose this to the New Zealand people first before we decide, or keep our foreign policy a strategy of ambiguity, shall we say? Well, you can't lead with ambiguity forever.
You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
And he knew that a while ago.
Yeah, but that becomes the question of, to me, that was the reason why we wanted to talk about this, because we want to talk about it within the context of not only Southeast Asia, but the whole region there.
Right.
And the changes that's going on. And New Zealand, is going to have, yes, it is a member of the Five Eyes, but at the same time, where this Five Eyes going to lead? I mean, we saw how Canada, for example, behaved. We saw how Australia behaved. Of course, UK has no moral standing anyway. We saw how it behaved. Now he left New Zealand. That's why they're saying, well, we're not going to go with AUKUS, but we can just consider what? Make a damn decision and move on with it. Because that's what they are incapable. And usually in international affairs or relations, whatever you want to call it, when signals coming out of a government like that pertain to foreign policy, that is on a shaky ground, you, as another country dealing with that, you're going to take a step back and say, I'm going to have to reconsider because I don't know where you stand on the issues.
I keep dancing with the Five Eyes, EYES.
Mm-hmm.
And I take a look at how much information they seem to be deleting. I mean, the Uyghurs. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And all the other information that's coming, are they turning five blind eyes to this incoming data?
You're right. Yeah, because it's serving a purpose.
It serves the purpose of keeping the war machine going and keeping conflict going. And I have to wonder, what consequences is New Zealand going to face if they change course and don't go along with Australia, Great Britain, Canada, and the United States? Economically, we don't know. Militarily, don't know. Do you have an opinion?
Well, so far, economically, their trade with China has not been impacted
at all
as of today.
Right.
At least New Zealand had the gut to communicate with China a couple months ago. I found out a couple months ago they communicated with China. They didn't disclose that on the news. They communicated with China about, we're not going to send official delegation, but we are not boycotting the Olympics. At least, and this is my personal opinion, that at least they took a stand on it for that. That's why China didn't react yet. The trade with them still where it is, but New Zealand rather, is also watching and saw what took place with Australia.
Yeah.
When their economy went down in no time, despite what we hear, because the government lying about saying, well, the Australian economy, they found other export markets. Nonsense. China was there next door.
Right.
Somebody said one time, I read somewhere that they're gonna be sending wine to South Africa or something like that. Really, across the globe.
They have a market of 1.4 billion versus South Africa, which has what, 10 or 12 million.
So
Cut
it
me a
becomes
break.
right there. So New Zealand will have to make sure and decide, and to me that's what when I mentioned last time, Ross, that South ASEAN countries, they are very smart into approaching this.
Yeah.
And I saw it personally. I became convinced after Tony Blinken's failed trip to Southeast Asia. That to me was the clear indication. I know now where those countries stand on, because they stand on ensuring that neutrality, first of all. We're not going to support China. We're not going to support the US. We're going to support what's good for us economically. Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, they are even Philippines. They're going to have to think. They are thinking in terms of economic welfare and prosperity.
Something you and I laugh about is, you mean a country that actually takes care of its people, that takes care of its economy, that looks out for what's best for itself? What a concept.
You're absolutely correct. So New Zealand is going to have to make a decision soon. You dragged your entire year 2021 with this ambiguity.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, I'm sure there is some approach to it psychologically that even human to human, you can't be misleading people like that forever.
Well, we see the leadership in Australia and New Zealand as like, we're really together. We hug each other in public. We are going. I saw a picture of prime ministers touching noses, Australia and New Zealand, and going, okay, I don't know what that's all about, but I can understand the pressure that Arden is facing.
Yeah.
And I believe they probably do have a real friendship, but the amount of pressure that she's facing, wow.
Well, that's what a leader is for. I mean, if you can be tested in a hardship, then what's the point?
Yeah.
To me, it's useless leader. You look at ours here in the US, when it matters, they don't step up. What's the point?
Right.
If you are just to show up in front of a camera with your suit and tie and the flowery speech and all that, when it matters, the welfare of the people, you couldn't take a damn stand on it. To me, what's the point? What kind of leader are you? If you couldn't face the truth and reality and make a decision, right or wrong, you're going to do what's good for whomever you are representing. To me, that's what a political leader is all about.
That has to be the real point of this show today.
Exactly.
Leadership must assert themselves even when it's tough.
Exactly. Yeah, because you don't want to be a leader in only good time. It's in a tough time when your leadership is tested.
Like now, it's a tough time.
So it will be interesting to see where New Zealand's going to go. All right, we're going to move on into your questions, guys. And as we always say, just make sure you put a question in, and we're going to dive into that. I will answer to the best of our ability.
Hey, Boone.
Hi, Boone. Thank you.
Dr. McCoy really was amazing, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
What an astonishing man he is.
Yeah. Basically, Boone's question, guys, has to do, I'm sure you saw the interview we released yesterday with Dr. McCoy. Very insightful. There are those who did not like the interview, which is fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But as we always say, don't expect us to just bring you what you want to hear. It's because we want to present you with both sides of the arguments, And I know about Dr. McCoy. I've read his stuff. I'm very familiar with his thinking and so forth. So it was a treat for me personally.
And we'd like to challenge you, if you hear both sides or three sides of something, think for yourself. What's this show all about?
Exactly, Russ. All right, Boone.
Is New Zealand practicing what the United States was before in Taiwan, namely strategic ambiguity?
You're absolutely correct. The short answer, Boone, is yes. And that's why I said, I asked you guys the question, where do you expect New Zealand to be when it comes down to foreign policy in 2022? That was my reason for asking for that. So far, they're finding it convenient to go that route. But you can't go that route forever, especially in a foreign policy, because that's how other countries is going to get an idea whether to deal with you or not. So that's an interesting question. And ambiguity, You know, some country like what we have when it comes down to Taiwan. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
we did back then. We figured we'll just have an ambiguity policy to start with.
Well, it's hitting the fan now.
You're right. Oh, who's that?
Peg, super sticker. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
You know, because the idea of ambiguity to me, it's nothing but a lip service.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how I look at it. You know, because you can't just lead like that forever. You know, and now it matters to them that they have to.
Athene Wu. If a war broke out over Taiwan, do you think Japan would come in to fight China, even without support from the United States? Japan's former prime minister is quite active about that. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. I don't see that happening because, and this might, I'm gonna be thinking outside the box, because if they do, Russia will step in.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. Yes, that's where I see it going. Russia will step in, and Japan will not want that to happen. No, I don't see that happening, despite what you hear about the rhetoric coming out of Tokyo, because Japan now, it's like, you know, Japan is gone.
yeah.
You know, gone the 80s of last century with Japan, you know.
With a shrinking population and,
Yeah,
and an economy that's not chaos, but it's really troubled
Yeah.
since 2008. They've never recovered from
Nah,
from Lehman Brothers fiasco.
yeah.
They're in trouble.
Yeah. It won't be a smart thing for them to get involved. Plus, it won't be no war. No. All right, let's see who that is. Sikiga,
Sikigo.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. That's so kind of our viewers usually. Here's another. Who is that?
Emery Chen. Love Dr. McCoy and narrative of American empire. We loved him too.
Thank you so much for your super sticker, Emery. We appreciate it. Yeah, I think that Dr. McCoy provided just a landscape, a read of the current landscape and where things going. So.
And you talk about provoking quality thinking.
Yeah, and
whether you agree or disagree.
Exactly. Well, the guy specialized, especially when it comes down to Philippines. He knows the Philippines inside out.
Oh yeah.
That was, by the way, why the Central Intelligence Agency wanted to block his book, the first one about Philippines. But he challenged them legally, and he was able to publish it. So,
Zane Mir.
Yeah, good to see you, Zane.
As per the Indian-China standoff in the, do you know how to pronounce it? Ladakh
Oh, Ladakh
region.
Yeah.
What do you see in 2022 for both countries? Will it be the status quo or further escalations?
That's a very complicated question, brother. I don't have an answer for it. All I know is that as of today, as a matter of fact, I just find out this morning, the Indian government is launching an investigation. And the investigation is about, it was a gathering of some Hindus who claim they want to kill Muslims.
Oh.
Yes. So Indian government is going to launch an investigation into that. That, you know, especially when it comes down to the Ladakh area, Kashmir, those are very, very complicated matters. They can't be resolved in one setting. Just India and Pakistan, for example, regarding Kashmir, they can sit down in one setting and fix the problem. Ain't gonna happen.
It's also going to be interesting watching how Putin's play with India and Modi might impact the relationship between India and China.
Well, here is the interesting thing about Putin. Putin just yesterday said in one of his press conferences, and I was very surprised, he said that you shouldn't consider insulting Prophet Muhammad as a freedom of speech. So, can you read between the lines what Putin is hinting to? It's the idea of what's taking place in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And remember, anything in Afghanistan, you have to include Pakistan, you have to include India into the conversation. But Russia, because Russia had a presence in Afghanistan, and what goes on in Afghanistan could impact the Caucasus area, and Russia wants to make sure.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why.
They happen to have a lot at stake, actually.
A lot. So short answer, yeah, the Ladakh stuff, what I do expect personally for next year, a continuation of the same. That's where I see it going.
Journey to the East.
Oh, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Journey. I appreciate it.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Happy Christmas to Dr. David, Dr. Ross, and Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you very much to all. And we're going to say our greetings at the end for you all. So we wish you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as well, Journey.
Journey to the East. Question. When Malaysia will be sanctioned from the U.S., Malaysia need to switch from U.S. dollar to yuan like Myanmar?
That is an interesting question. I am concerned about the corruption that's going on inside the Malaysian government. Here is what shocks me the most, Ross. Both countries, Indonesia and Malaysia, given the size of their population and so forth, the potentials they have.
Yeah.
But because the corruption inside the government. That's why I was very sort of, when they sentenced the former prime minister, or whatever that is, to 12 years, it was the right thing to do. They should have done it way back because it was embezzlement.
Yeah.
As a case. And so, yeah, I do see Malaysia going that direction. And the U.S. is going to sanction them, again, overusing that tool, but also because what Russia and China decided to do as far as developing the financial infrastructure, which will pave the way, as I always argue, is going to pave the way for regional countries to start considering, how about if we trade in your currency?
Well, it's almost like the United States is going to sanction you. Welcome to our club.
Yeah.
And that's what China's going to do.
Because
of course they're going to do that.
You're right. That's what the U.S. is doing inadvertently. Keep pushing. Countries going to say, we had enough.
And we're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's astonishing.
That's like you're in school and kids in school. If you got somebody who's bullying you all the time, at one point you're going to push back.
Oh, yeah.
You don't push back the first day, the second day, because you're being nice. But third time, you're going to say, hey, back off. And that's probably what they're going to do. So the answer is yes. The only difference is it's not going to happen next year. I'll let you know, because it takes time to establish that financial system. All right.
Plato, I can't quite see it.
Super sticker.
Super sticker. Thank you, Plato.
We appreciate it. Plato is not the first time. He's always put super stickers. So same with Journey, same with Boone. You guys are so generous. We truly appreciate it. It was one of our members. I read. He said, I am so sorry I couldn't join the membership because financial. Don't worry. We want you to be informed. You guys do it when you can.
Help me out here. How are you going to pronounce that?
Biryakov.
Oh, it's Biryakov. Oh,
our Biryakov.
I know that.
Yeah.
As China and Saudi missile topic. But isn't this also a sign of U.S. relationship with Saudi is deteriorating fast? That U.S. had to pull this kind of stunt publicly instead of through backdoor talk?
That's an interesting question, and I'll be happy to answer it because I wrote a book about it. Biryakov, if you get a chance to read my book about Saudis, it's called Beneath the Veil, Fall of the House of Saud. I detailed truly all those issues there. Yes, it is to a degree, but also what you need to know is that U.S.-Saudi relations will survive. It will survive. There is a lobbyist group in Washington, very powerful, well-financed by the Saudis, that will maintain any deviation towards sort of retaliating against the Saudis, whatever. That ain't gonna happen. I can guarantee you this. Second thing, the only thing that Saudis, if I am to think now inside the Saudi government, there are internal fighting that is not coming out to the surface, and we're gonna detail this to our members because we're gonna do this as a presentation because there's a lot of, shall we say, sensitive info that it has to be vetted certain ways before we disclose that. But of course, with this platform, it's slightly different. But the relationship is gonna survive. And why is that? I'll give you a quick example. 9/11, we all know, right? Guess what happened to the investigation that was supposed to be launched in Congress about the funding, the Saudi funding for the operation?
It was sunk.
It was swept under the rug, which means 3,000 members who died, their families, Americans, those who died, their families did not receive justice. Why? because Congress didn't want to move forward with the investigation, swept it under the rug. Now you don't even hear about it. So this technology between exchange of technology between China and Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is realizing, we better move on with China because the US decline is coming sooner or later. That's why. So yeah, I can't stress enough. Take a look at my book for that one.
Oh, East meets West. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas to you from all three of us.
I like the screen names. There's another super sticker there from
USA, USA.
Yeah, USA. Thank you so much.
You so
we appreciate it. Interesting screen names. I like reading those. So.
Sometimes pronouncing them is a little challenging.
Right. They know.
We do our best.
Be cool.
Right. Lex Neuron. Oh, this ought to be good. New Zealand might not have the resources to navigate the wiggle room that the U.S. might have. But what could New Zealand do when called upon to be ambiguous no more?
And that is an incredible question. And that is exactly why I asked that question about what do you guys think about 2022? Because it's going to come time where they're going to have to take a stand. Remember, being a member of the Five Eyes, New Zealand doesn't contribute anything except location. Australia doesn't contribute anything except location. Canada doesn't contribute much except location. Where you see between the two is the US and UK. That's where the core of the Five Eyes, without going any further on that, But for New Zealand, it just hitching a ride on the train with the big boys. That's all.
A question I've had is, New Zealand, how much access to quality information do they have? From what we can tell, there's suppression in Australia of quality information. And so that means the Australian people who write to us say, we didn't get this information. We didn't know.
Yeah.
But I don't have any idea what's going on in New Zealand. So are the people informed there? Do they have access? Don't know.
Yeah, we don't know that one. But what we know is that, and the question perfectly stated, they're going to have to take stand sooner or later.
Yeah.
You can't manage this forever. Look at the US when it comes down to Taiwan. We've been managing this for now. You are right there in front of the issue, And the US said to Taiwan, well, we can assist, but we can't recognize you. That's one, because that policy has to come to sort of, Taiwan is part of China. So what is the ambiguity about that? But the US trying to play it both sides, or the West for that matter, and they can't forever.
And from what we can tell, China is kind of this unrelenting source of pressure that we will eventually win. We got the long term in mind.
Yeah, and it's part of their territory. So this is, yes, we use the term invasion, but that's not an invasion, because in the West, they don't understand the concept. That's like what happened with the title we had for yesterday, the video with Dr. McCoy.
Yeah.
We use the term the rise. Well, it's not the rise. It's the rejuvenation of, because that's the history coming back full circle. But in the West, they don't understand China's history.
There is no resurgence. The history is too short. And we look at 5,000 years of Chinese history, and we see it power, loss, world leader, loss, world leader again. So it just keeps recycling. Yeah. But part of the Chinese mentality seems to be, we're a world leader. Yeah. And we're going to be, and we are again.
Yeah. Except that in the West, they won't understand that term. They will understand the word rise.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. All right, next one. Oh, there's a super sticker from, let's see here.
Truth Seeker.
Truth Seeker. Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Truth Seeker.
We hope that's what we are too.
And Merry Christmas to you as well. So, Truth Seeker. I like that screen name. And Truth Seeker, by the way, is I put comments.
Good.
Who's that? Oh, let me see that one. Oh, Mohzairi. Mohidris. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Idris. We appreciate you. That's so kind of that. Our viewership, Ross. It's all over the world. So it's nice to come in contact, through this with different cultures and different.
East meets West. If China and Taiwan can reunify peacefully, how will the United States and Western governments react? They'll adjust.
I was about to say that, because there's nothing they can do. They will, what the West will try, if I may add this, Ross, they will try to instigate a few things here and there. But no, it will be fait accompli, and life will goes on. Speaking of Taiwan, I didn't forget to update you about the PhD of Sai.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that. Remember, with the holidays and all that, it's very hard because London School of Economics is on break. Of course, there is no access to records there for now, but I didn't forget that one. However, I am still having more question marks, and I will refrain from calling her doctor as of today. If it proves, then I'll use the title, because that's a fraud if somebody use the name doctor before the name when they have not been legally awarded the degree. So. All right, next question. Oh, Mohzair Idris. Yeah.
What will happen to China-Iran relations when China is helping Saudi in ballistic missiles program?
That is an interesting question. Remember, the idea of Saudis has already granted 3 visas to high-ranking officials from Iran. What does it mean? It's an indication to maybe they are willing now to communicate. Remember, Saudi's objection to Iran's nuclear program, it's because they fear that Iran naturally will dominate Saudi Arabia, because the whole existence of the monarchy of Saudi Arabia, as I disclose in my book, which I highly recommend if you can read it. If it weren't for the US, Saudi Arabia will be not where it will be today. I guarantee you this.
Well, the royal family would be in trouble.
No, yeah. So that is the reason why. So yes, Saudis are seeing where the trend is headed. They're smart. They are not dumb. Don't think just because they sit in a desert, sticking a stick on the sand at night, because that's what they do, part of the tradition. But they are very shrewd. They are very thing. So they are seeing where the trend is going. They don't want to be left behind. And they are convinced now that U.S. leadership is declining in the Middle East and elsewhere.
TNT.
Oh, here is TNT. Thank you, TNT. I wonder where have you been? I haven't seen TNT for a while. Even you put comments, I didn't see. So good to see you, TNT. We appreciate it. TNT is, I'm sure he's busy, whatever that is, but it would always comments from TNT. Incredible content. So,
Ariel.
Where's Ariel?
Do you think Boric victory is a sign of power shift?
I'll answer for me. I'll say yes. It's because if you go back to 2019, with all the demonstrations that were taking place in Santiago, yes, it is a power shift. The question will be, to me, I will ask, remember, this guy, Boris, had some issues, for example, with the Jewish community. There were some statements that were disclosed about, semantics and all that stuff. That's beside the point. Where I am focusing, and we're going to do a live on it or show whatever we'll decide down the road, is what kind of foreign policy he's going to embark on. Remember, he's only 35. It takes years to develop that understanding. This is why, for example, the Prince of Saudi Arabia messed up.
Yeah, big time.
He's too young. He doesn't know. What I am interested in, given now what's going on in Argentina with demonstrations against IMF, given also what's going on with the Panama Canal with China's investments, given with the statement of the former Chilean ambassador to China, they're saying you better embark on investments with China to move forward for the economy, because Chile's economy is good. It's not at where it needs to be in comparison to Brazil, for example. Brazil is a big problem right now. Why is that? It's because Bolsonaro, the president, gave all the key possessions to the military. So which means the military controls now the economy, which is bad news. Brazil, with all its size and the resources, so this is what I'm seeing. I can't speculate right now on it till I'm still doing my own reading to see what kind of foreign policy he's going to embark on. And that will give me an idea which direction. As far as to going on a different path altogether, I would say yes. That's where I see it going. And because also, he's going to be thinking in terms, because he stated already, and I quote, he said that I am going to be president for all people. But
it's the right thing to say.
Let's
see if he does it.
Exactly. As I always believe, what you say versus what you do are two different things.
VL. Why does New Zealand want to remain in the U.S. Five Eyes with the purpose against China when, one, they are not an enemy of China, and two, should a conflict arise with China, what can New Zealand do? They are so small.
Well, the short answer is because they are English speaking.
Yeah.
Country. That's one. Second, yeah, they have that's like NATO. You get some members in NATO, it's a joke.
Yeah.
You think, for example, Montenegro in NATO. I mean, no offense to Montenegro, but their defense budget is the same budget of the police department in Massachusetts. So,
okay.
That's the same argument for New Zealand. And New Zealand is tied to Australia, and Australia is because of Pine Gap, our base over there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have much say. Same with Australia, doesn't have much say. The only two countries that have say into that is UK and the US. And, even Canada doesn't. Look what Canada just did.
Oh, with Huawei.
Bowing to the US pressure.
And boy, are they paying the price now.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
TNT.
There's TNT.
Merry Christmas to David.
It's all
Ross,
right.
Elizabeth. Your comments are much needed in the West. We are one people in this world that wants peace, love, and prosperity for all humans on this planet, and we three agree. Elizabeth just touched her heart. Yes, we want the same thing.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too as well, TNT. And indeed, couldn't agree more. This is why we're doing what we're doing. For us to sit here and do the shows and do the Q&As and do the members, the presentations and all that, if you all guys only know what goes on behind the scenes to get this ready. I mean, we're talking about hours and hours and hours.
And hours and hours.
Yeah. And yet, we're doing it with a smile. We're doing it with joy. And we're doing it with happiness because that is what we want to do, because we want to raise awareness and help people understand that there is another path. There is another peaceful way of coexisting. There is another way of looking at other individuals from other cultures just like us. We're all one community in the world here. Do we like what our government is doing as far as policies? No. But just for you guys to know, there is American people, and there is American government, like every other entity. Most Americans are very peaceful people.
The vast majority.
Truly they are. They'll take their coat out of their back and give it to you in time of need. But it's the damn government, and I'll say it. Those damn policies, that's what it is. And ruining everybody here at home and overseas. This is what it is. Yeah, it's one world. And we are hoping to contribute to the best of our abilities with what we can to spread that peaceful message. So thank you for your kind words, TNT.
Oh, Lu Trong.
Okay.
Trong.
Lu Trong. Thank you, Lu Trong. We appreciate it. So that's so kind of
Auto Libre Pensador. Today, RT News announced a proposed law by Russia, by Russian MPs, to declare Soviet Union collapse a major national tragedy. What's your opinion about it?
I have not heard about that law yet. I'll be happy to take a look about it. But I do know, given that I wrote a book about Russia recently, which also it's an interesting book if you might want to take a look at it. Book had to be approved by the U.S. government also. So all my writings, by the way, guys, have to be approved by the U.S. government. What was I saying?
About
I
Russia?
wrote the book about it, and yes, the Russians inside. You know who they blame for all this? Mikhail Gorbachev.
Oh,
Yeah, he is not a hero in that country. Turned their country upside down. We all heard about Russia's going to become democracy. That's nonsense. It's nonsense because it was a lie. Russia is not about to become democracy. And who are we to decide that their system is going to work for us? So they looked at that day when Gorbachev signed the paper. It was a disgrace day for them. So now they want to make it official. Yeah. So they are not happy about which direction. I mean, they were lucky based on their opinion. And when I conduct the research about, I did find out that some individuals were surveyed, average people. They said they were lucky. They were lucky to have Putin. And this is why there is a concern right now in Russia. Right now, there is a concern in Russia. There is nobody to replace Putin. They are concerned about that. So,
as we've discussed, his rise to power is beyond remarkable.
Yeah.
The things he did, the pragmatist that he is, the effective leader that he is.
Yeah.
Just astonishing human being.
Yeah. So
I'm not that I'm in love with him.
No,
Please don't
I
get
know
that.
what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
But you take a look at his rise to power, and it's more than impressive.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a look at that recent statement that was just issued because I wasn't aware of it. So. All right, next one is.
Is that French?
Raphael, Leon.
Okay.
Thank you, Raphael.
I call England, Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, King James Empire, and we are witnessing the end of it.
You know what? That is great description, and I will have to concur with that because with all the history you look at that King James at the time and Arthur and so all of this is like a relic, a remnant of that. That era is gone. You look at just in Africa right now. So why Africa, despite the resources they have? You know how much resources Africa has?
Unbelievably large.
And yet the West not willing to let it develop as it should. We all know the history. The Germans, the Dutch, the French, the Brits. Even for us Americans, most of the presence of the European because proximity. We all know that just as an example. So this the Five Eyes, it's remnants of the past. The geopolitical shift that is going to render those alliances like that useless.
Yeah,
they're gonna be. You guys gonna see. You're gonna see. Give it time. And when I say time, I'm referring to a few years. You're gonna see how irrelevant. It's like NATO right now. NATO is trying to find some justification to justify its existence. We all know NATO is irrelevant.
Well, it's 40 years irrelevant.
It's relevant. So, and with the U.S. decline, it just it will be a natural progression for where those countries, look at Australia and Canada. They just following U.S. blindly in the sense of, you kind of feel sad that today they're still under the authority of the Queen. Who the heck is the Queen to dictate to a sovereign state like Canada and Australia? No offense to the Queen, but come on, we live in a different time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The Queen needs to go enjoy her retirement, and that's the way I see it.
The Dynamite Dragon.
Oh my God. I like that.
Is that your picture?
I like it.
Electric cars from China will be affordable for U.S. market. We need to get off the ICE cars. Well, the projection is that there's going to be a very high percentage, as much as 85% of the cars in 2030 are going to be electric.
Wow.
In this country. I just read it this morning.
Interesting.
We'll see if that actually happens.
Well, the U.S. now is offering, this is for our American viewers, if you are here in the U.S. The U.S. now, the U.S. government is offering tax incentives if you buy an electric car manufactured here. How much they offering you? $12,000.
Really?
Yeah, but guess what? What they are not telling the American people is that they put in the $12,000 into the sticker price.
Oh.
So know, what's the point? They're charging for that $52,000. So, yeah, it's pathetic the way they go about it, and it just. But yeah, I can see because China's moving forward with the electric cars to a degree. You know, I'm sure they will dominate, especially now with the chip and manufacturers show. We know that the TMC, that Taiwan is whatever that moved their operations to Arizona. Yeah, one of our viewers yesterday mentioned that he lives about a few miles from that location. $12 billion. But will it hold? I don't know, because the labor cost here in the US is high.
Okay,
last question.
That's a sticker from Rafael. Once again, thank you, Rafael.
The speech Putin gave with the military by his side. Why is everyone so afraid for what it is? He mobilized his army.
If I may answer this one, Ross, that's the hypes of the West, and you will know this more than anyone else, Ross. Psychologically, what does it do?
Well, it gives a very clear signal that we're here and we're standing up tall, and you need to respect us because we're ready to go.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what. And the way I always wonder, when the West start criticizing other countries, they are sovereign state. They can do whatever they want, you know, within, of course, the observations of international law. But wait a minute, if we are to say to them, you need to do it based on international law, what about us? You know, to me, this is what I see, the double standard.
You mean to say that all these other countries in the world don't need the approval of the United States government to run their own lives?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's the indication for that is a message there to the Western world, especially the US, that, and I do, based on the research that I conducted, I wouldn't want to corner Russia. That I know for a fact. You do not want to corner that. That doesn't mean we're going to be scared of it. Just, why are we provoking? Same thing with the issue of Taiwan. Why are we provoking? Same thing with some other parts of the world. Why are we doing all this? Live and let live. Live and let live. So, well, guys.
Wait, one more.
Who's that? Boone. Thank you, Boone.
Alchemy.
There's an extra shout out for.
Yeah. An extra shout out for Alchemy of E. That's Elizabeth's site.
Yeah. Thank you, Boone. We appreciate it. So we take this opportunity. We wanted to say to you, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. It's beside the point, is the peaceful time of it. This is what I wish, and I'll speak for myself here. This is what I wish the whole year goes like this, not just in Christmas time. It's almost like, why do we have to be so nice on Christmas, but not the rest of the days? How about if we unnice the entire year?
I'm going to join in too.
Yeah, come on in. So.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas also.
So, and it's the idea of, how about if we be nice the whole life?
What a concept.
We're just passing by. We go to the grave peacefully. I like to go peacefully.
Did you ever hear the old song Passing Through?
No.
Well, do you know it, Elizabeth?
What?
Passing Through, the song. Well, it has to do with, we're here for such a short time.
It is indeed.
And by the way, enjoy it while you're here.
Yeah.
Live peacefully and get along with people as best you can, because we're just passing through.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Russ. This is what I enjoy. One of the things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Is being with our viewers. We truly want to say thank you. Truly, from the bottom of our hearts. The entire Geopolitics and Conflicts team. There are one more member behind the scenes. So we all want to say thank you for your continued support. It means a lot to us. And we shall see you next time on Q&A. For our members, just to remind you, we're going to be doing the presentation about the race between US and China in the AI. And also remember to check us out on locals at geopolitics.locals.com. And for our membership, it's at geopoliticsinconflict.com. Remember to follow me on Twitter at @TheWhataDo and Elizabeth at Alchemy of E. And from all of us, we say Merry Christmas.